Well, good evening. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. How are you all today? I want to talk about prepping for reality. First, I want to say, for those of you who caught the Cold War Preppers show last night, his live stream, I was on the live stream with him. What a great time it was. What a great guy he is. What a great channel he has. And it was a great time. I just want to say that if you didn't get a chance to see it, you can go over to his channel, Cold War Prepper. You see him comment here a lot. Go over there and you can watch it. And he's just a great interviewer. I'll tell you right off, this is the first live stream I've ever done with anyone. I've been asked before, never wanted to do it, haven't done it before, and I did this one because I like Lee so much, and he has done such a good job reviewing all of my books. So I said, all right, let's do this. And man, I tell you, I had a good time. I had a great time. Lee is just a great interviewer, and it was nice to be with him, and his viewers are such great people also. So you can catch that, go over and watch that. And I got done watching that, because a lot of times when you're involved in something, you don't see it from the perspective of the viewer. So I went back and I watched it and enjoyed it again. And then I saw that the night before, and I had not seen this one, he had a live stream with Triple G, who many of you know from here, especially if you're with us on Patreon. Triple G comments a lot over there, and he posts a lot of stuff in the community section. And when you get these two guys together, and they were talking about 5th generation warfare, and when you get these two guys together, Lee is retired Army military intelligence, and Triple G is pharmaceutical chemist. Now, when you have that many brain cells running around together all over, you have a good show and you have some good information. Both of them contribute so much to this channel, and I just loved watching them together while Lee interviewed Triple G the night before he interviewed me. So I would encourage everyone to go over there to Cold War Prepper and subscribe. You need it. His is one of the channels that really brings good stuff up. It's not just every day, oh folks, it's really getting bad. It's really and not really addressing anything specific. That stuff gets a little tiresome, doesn't it? We know things are bad, and that's why we prep. We don't need to talk about it every day, and that's why I pump being positive, not being negative. But go over there and subscribe. Triple G ought to have his own channel. I wish he would, because I would subscribe right now, and I would be watching everything. Smart guys from which we can all learn. Okay, so do that, and then also and for Kevin Altapeter, one of our mainstays on the Patreon channel. Kevin, you asked if I would stick a can of Yuengling in your book order. I'm afraid that the post office won't let me put a can of beer in the envelope with your book. So this is yours, and I'm going to drink it for you. Oh man, you enjoyed that, didn't you? I hope you enjoyed watching me enjoy that as much as I enjoyed showing you how much I enjoyed it. One more, then we'll get started. Okay, let's get started. For anybody who's new, this is what we do. We kind of chat for a minute because we have a great channel. We have a lot of people here who we just kind of get along. We talk and we're polite to each other, and we are supportive of one another. And that's the way we are. We don't yell and scream and call people names and things like that and tell people how stupid they are. We are in this to work together. Last night, when I was explaining to Lee and his audience what made me start writing my books. And if you want to know the whole thing about how I got started writing, go over there and watch that. But what made me write my books, to make that longer story very short, is where I worked at the time. I worked in a major hospital system, And it was during the time that show Doomsday Preppers came out. And of course that brought preparedness out in the open to, people beyond the survivalist circles. And, some of it was good, some of it was stupid, but it really got people talking. And and a lot of people around the hospital were talking about it. Well, I had been involved in preparedness for many years. Most of you know that I've been doing this stuff for 40 years. And, not a big deal was made of it back then. It was just some of us who were kind of aware of what was going on did it. And so as that Doomsday Prepper show came out, it made more people start to be concerned about certain things. And so when people found out that I was involved in this, they would come ask me questions, and I'd give them, my thoughts. And as it kind of spiraled, I noticed something. I noticed that people were attracted to the things either that they were very good at or that they were afraid of. And as I tried to explain things to people, and preparedness is a very complex issue because life is complex. As I would try to explain things, I realized they weren't holding more than a couple of things in their mind at one time. If something came out and it was whatever the fear is, you can think about it today. Is it economic collapse? Okay, everybody's afraid of that. And is it the border collapsing? Now everybody's afraid of that. And is it EMP? Now everybody's afraid of that. And whatever it is, now everybody's afraid of that. But there is so much going on. And there always has been, to be real honest. For those who really pay attention, we know that the world has always been complicated. The threats have always been many, and they've always been serious. But people who this is kind of new to, they have a tendency not to be able to hold more than a few things in their head at once. So when they'd ask me about something else, and I try to explain that, they wouldn't understand how preparedness for that fit into what I had already told them, preparedness for something else. So I had the idea, well, maybe I'll write a short story. And for those of you who know me, I can't type, so I write it by tapping into the notes program on my phone, this phone that I'm taping on, and then I email it to myself, and then I go through the whole process of formatting and making a manuscript and sending it off. So I started that. I thought it was just going to be a short story. And then it just got on and on and on, kept going, because there is always, and here's the point, there is always a what's next. Okay, or what else? Okay, because it's not just a path that you go down, it's a field, right? You have to be dealing with what's here in front of you and also be ready for what's out there on your flanks, right? Or around the next bend of the path. And I realized that most people just weren't doing that. And even now, I see that many people aren't. So that was the purpose when I wrote my first book, The Reversion, and then there was just more to do, more to explain, more to talk about, more to address. And then it became the second book, The Revival, and then the third book, The Renewal, and then the fourth book, what was that? Blessings of Freedom, and then the fifth book, An Appeal to Heaven, and now the sixth book that's just come out, Hostages to Fortune. I just shipped out a massive load of books today, so I don't have any to show you, but I put in another order. But those are the books that I'm now on my seventh book, because I continue to address those things that answer the question, what next and what else? Make sense? Okay. By the way, the books there's links down there, and you can get all the books on Amazon in paperback or Kindle. And you can get autographed copies from me through our website, stonemont.us, and that link is down there too. And they've made it very easy now that we have a website up that you can just get on. You don't have to send a check or cash anymore. You can put it on your plastic and just order it, and then when I get it, then I wait for the shipment to come in, then I send it out, and it sends you a message that, hey, it's been shipped, and then someday you get them. Well, anyway, that's what drove this entire Stonemont series, is what next and what else. And as I was talking with Lee last night, I told him that I thought that was probably the most important thing. At least I think I told him. It was certainly in my mind, but I think that is the most important thing to address in preparedness, and one that too many people simply don't get their head around. And that is, you have to prepare for reality. Now, some people will say, well, yeah, I know reality is, I'm prepared for the golden hordes, which I don't believe in, or I'm prepared for the economic crash, or I'm prepared for, and most people aren't. That's why if you're not prepared for an economic crash, that's why I put together the other channel, Prepping for Prosperity. Your financial preparedness is vital. It's very, very important. And too many people in preparedness are simply not. They don't address that. They've got the bullets, beans, and Band-Aids, but they don't realize that while that prepares them for a collapse of society, the world, an EMP, whatever like that, it does not prepare them that well to go on and continue to function and live well within the world in which we live now. That's where your financial preparedness comes in. And so when I talk about preparing for reality, what I mean is preparing for the complexity of the world, the complexity of life. And people do have a tendency to focus either on their particular fears or their particular strengths, because most people don't prepare for what they're not afraid of, because it's not central in their mind. And they have a tendency not to think about, they want to think about those areas in which they are strong. It's just like a fighter, a fighter who's got a great left hook. You've got to get him off of that and develop those other attacks, right? Everybody likes to continue to do the things that they do well because they feel good. They do it well again. They feel good. They start doing something else. It's like shooting with your weak hand. All of a sudden, your grip is not tight. It's, looks like a shotgun from 100 yards. And that makes you feel, not good. And so you tend not to do that. And that's the wrong way to go with it. You need to you need to develop your strengths until you develop your weaknesses, until that weakness, it may not become your strength, but at least it's not the weakness that it was. You bring it up as close to even as you can. In some cases, there were cases, well, it doesn't matter. In some cases, well, I will say this. In some cases, people can develop their offside, their weak side, to be better than their strong side, simply because it takes more concentration to do it. So this is where I think that a lot of preppers fall short, that they focus too much on particular favorite calamities, favorite things that they think they know about. If they get involved in guns, it's all about guns, right? And the old saw that if all you got's a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And every problem isn't a nail. You need to have an understanding of what it's all about. I'll tell you a story that kind of illustrates this. Those of you in the martial arts are probably familiar with the meaning of karate. And a lot of people call it karate. It's really karate. It's two words: karate. Okay, and what people have always been told that it means, kara is empty, and te is hand. That's not exactly what it means. I always thought that was too, and it means fighting with empty hands. Well, no. The complete systems, the complete Okinawan systems out of the karate included weapons of the day, environmental weapons for the most part, because if you're familiar with that, under the Japanese occupation, the Okinawans were not allowed to have weapons, so they developed systems to be able to use those elements, the farming implements that they used every day to fight with. The stick that they carried the buckets with, that became the bow, and the nunchucks were rice flails, and the grinder handle became the tonfa, which later developed into the police PR-24 nightstick. So they developed those things. But I was talking with a real legend in Okinawan karate, Seiyu Oyata. This has been, 30 years ago, I guess. And he changed his name a couple of times during his life to kind of reflect where he was in his life. Some people know him as Taika Oyata, some as Seiyu Oyata. And so I was talking with Seiyu one time, and he said, now he didn't speak very good English, but he says, people think that kara means empty. Karate, empty hand. He says that's not what it means. There are many different inflections of kara. And he says what it truly means is vast. Vast hand, which means everything that you can bring to hand, you're going to use in your defense or offense or whatever. And I think that can be applied to what we're talking about with preparing for reality. Don't restrict yourself. Don't restrict yourself like so many of the karate practitioners who thought that it had to be empty hand. But realize it means vast. It means everything. You have to be prepared for anything that can happen. That's my description of integrative preparedness, to be able to live well independent of all of those external and interrelated systems over which you have little or no control. And to do that, you have to have an understanding of all of the things you need to live. It goes far beyond bullets, beans, and Band-Aids, and that's why in my books I explain, the rebuilding of community, the rebuilding of infrastructure, to bring life back to a quality of life after a world-destructive CME, to where, 90-95% of the people would die, but those who are able to come together and through community rebuild in the proper way, I show how, the positivism of that. And the one-trick pony is not going to, they will have a slot in there. They will be able to do their one trick, right? So if they can find a group or, somehow get folded into a group to where that one trick is going to do, well, okay, I guess, that's good. That beats not finding a group, right? But the more you can do and the more you understand, the more you're going to be ready to sustain yourself and your family and those who depend on you through whatever may come, and it's going to allow you to contribute more to whatever group you happen to be in. So I think where a lot of people, my point on this is where I think too many preppers fall short, is that they see the hand as empty rather than as vast. They focus on the things, their favorite problems or fears or strengths, and then they concentrate on that, and they don't expand their attention because, to be honest, they don't know much about it, and then it's uncomfortable. They don't know where to go with it, and so they will find they'll find whether it's a channel that just drums every day, it's horrible, civil war is coming, or another channel that it's all about financial collapse, and I'm not just hacking on channels here. It's whatever you do. When really the thing is, it takes an expansive attention span to really be able to develop a comprehensive and effective preparedness plan. And that's why I say you have to prepare for reality, whatever that reality is. It could be a horrible grid down situation to where everybody is fighting and starving and killing and all that. It could also be a financial collapse. It could be a cyber attack. It could be anything. But the way to prepare for that is to develop an all-inclusive, or as much as you can, preparedness stance, so that pretty much whatever happens is not going to affect you either at all or it will affect you in a as limited a way as possible. So, so think about that. Prepare for reality, not the aliens and the asteroids and the Yellowstone caldera, are probably not the things that you need to be worrying about, but the things that there are plenty of things to concern yourself with. And the more you expand your attention and your concerns, the better you're going to be when anything happens. So preparing for reality means preparing for the complexities of the world, either how the world may be after a collapse or the way the world is as it continues through the idiocy of the day. So I hope that has made some sense. Again, I want to thank Lee over at Cold War Prepper. It was a pleasure to be with him over there last night. Watch that one if you would like. Definitely watch his interview with Triple G. I love watching smart people. I love listening to smart people because I love learning. And there's a couple of thinkers, and we're lucky to have them. And we're lucky to have them on this channel too, contributing their comments. So I'm going to leave you with that. Kevin, your beer is great. Let me let you enjoy watching me enjoy one more swig. There will always be an idiot who comes by and says, you just drink beer on your channel. No, we're a community here, and that's what we do, and we have fun and all that. So you all just remember, prepare for reality. And that means prepare for the complexities of anything and everything. And the more you do that, the better you'll get, the better you'll be no matter what happens. So remember that we prepare well today in order to live just a little bit? No, in order to live well tomorrow. So go out and do something tomorrow. It's the evening. Don't do anything now. Relax. Have a Yingling. But tomorrow, go out and do something. And do something every day. And take a look at yourself. Do an audit. Say, am I looking at a broad enough spectrum of the things that I need to be addressing? And don't let it scare you. There's a lot to do. Just do it a little bit at a time. And every day you'll be closer and closer and closer to where you want to be. You all have a good night, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.